Foxconn founder Terry Gou's presidential bid sends shockwaves through Taiwanese politics. Taiwan's military practices firing some of the country's biggest guns.
Stand up for Taiwan. That's the message from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Taipei as Taiwan makes a renewed push to be included in the United Nations.
Plus, a nationwide beach cleanup collects 8 tons of garbage. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Rik Glauert. Tech billionaire Terry Gou has officially thrown his hat in the ring to become Taiwan's next president. But his history of doing business in China and a large field of candidates could complicate his run. Jeremy Olivier has more.
Saluting the crowd. On Monday, Terry Gou, the founder and largest shareholder of electronics manufacturing giant Foxconn, announced he will run for president of Taiwan as an independent. The news ended months of speculation over whether Gou would make a bid. The billionaire businessman ran to be the opposition KMT candidate in 2020 and again this year, losing both times. That hasn't stopped his ambitions, though, even recently creating an alliance with politicians unhappy with their own parties. But who is Terry Gou, and why is he now aiming for the country's highest office? Born to Chinese parents who fled Taiwan after the Civil War there, Gou learned business by training as a shipping clerk. He founded Foxconn in the 1970s with a small loan from his mother. The company started out as a contract manufacturer of switches for TVs. It later began making products in China, which is where Gou built his business empire. It's his longtime dealings with China that have left many concerned he might not stick up for Taiwan. China claims Taiwan as its own, despite never ruling it, and threatens to take it by force if necessary.
His recipe is to enter into a peace accord with China. But how you would be able to enter into a peace pact with China without sacrificing Taiwan's sovereignty and the independence and the way of life.
But Gou says he has no intention of selling out Taiwan, and that he wants to prevent it from going to war.
如果我牺牲我个人的财产，他不要来打台湾，我愿意重新做我的模具工人。只要他不来打台湾，但是我不能听从他的指派。
The reaction to Gou's announcement from the other parties fielding candidates was mixed. While the ruling Democratic Progressive Party and the Third Force Taiwan People's Party were neutral or even positive, the main opposition KMT was less welcoming.
中国国民党表达高度的遗憾，不过我们也相信，郭台铭创办人一定会和其他我们所有泛蓝的朋友一样，最后还是会归队。
In Taiwan, presidents are chosen by simple majority, meaning that in a race with more than 2 candidates, no one needs more than 50% of the vote to win. Gou's entrance makes this a 4-way race, with all hopefuls polling above or close to 10%. But many say the vote will likely be split among the non-DPP hopefuls, making it easier for current Vice President Lai Ching-te to come out on top.
DPP candidate Lai Ching-te is now the front runner. He got 40 to 43% support in most recent polls. Is that good enough for the 3-man race? Yes, but is that good enough for a one-on-one? Maybe not. So I think his stance is loud and clear that he will continue to move to the center.
With the election just a few months away, Gou's candidacy could mean an even tougher battle for the future of Taiwan. While he has said he hopes to work with rivals to defeat the DPP, it will depend on whether they're willing to put aside differences and unite as a bloc. John Su and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
To learn more about Foxconn founder Terry Gou's bid for the presidency and the hurdles he might face, Ed Moon spoke to Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation research fellow Paul Huang.
So could you just explain to us, Foxconn founder Terry Gou has said that he is going to run to be Taiwan's president in January next year, but he needs to go through some steps to get there. Is that correct? Can you explain a little bit about the process?
For someone like Gou, because he's running as an independent, he has no party. And even if you create a party, you wouldn't be eligible to run without a signature process. So he needs to fulfill that. Now for independents, for parties who are not eligible to run to nominate directly, then you need to gather signatures, petitions, about 290,000. Now, however, the real number that's needed if you run a campaign, a signature gathering campaign, is about 500,000. Why? Because past experience show that the number of signatures or petitions that you gather, a lot of which will be later ruled as invalid for a variety of reasons. And in my opinion, that there is a reasonable chance, and in fact, probably a very high chance that he's going to fail this basic step.
And you yourself, you're affiliated with the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation, which runs one of the sort of most frequent and largest polls here in Taiwan. Can you tell us a little bit about what that organization's polling shows would happen if Terry Gou were to enter the presidential race?
Well, just in July, we did a poll that had a four-way race with Terry Gou as part of the ticket, together with Ching-te, Gou and Hou You-yi. And Terry Gou got 15%, just behind Hou You-yi in the 18%. And Lai is still at 33%. So mathematically, you look at these numbers and you say, well, Terry Gou, even if he becomes a candidate, right, he's going to be the last of the litter, the last of the four. It's hard to see how he has a path to victory, meaning that actually winning the president race, unless something very, very dramatic happens.
Do you think there's any chance that the opposition candidates, the three of them, will combine together to have a joint ticket?
Almost impossible, because Ke Wen-je and Hou You-yi, there's just no chance for them to run as the VP to any of them. For Ke Wen-je, he served as a Taipei mayor for 8 years. He's running for president this year. This is all he's been waiting for. He's not going to give it up and say, okay, I'll just be the VP and wait another 4 years. And from Hou You-yi's position, well, the KMT is a powerful, resourceful party. He cannot accept a VP position on either with Ke Wen-je or Terry Gou. They're just unacceptable. No matter how far behind he is in the poll.
That was Paul Huang from the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation speaking to Ed Moon. Taiwan's military has wrapped up artillery drills in the south of the country. They practice defending the coastline and preventing enemy ships from landing. Jaime Ocon reports.
Taiwan's army is practicing with some of its biggest guns. In the country's south, the military wrapped up its annual Tianlei artillery drills on Monday. During the exercises, they practiced defending the island with a combination of heavy weapons. Over the years, the spectacle has attracted people to the area. But these drills aren't just for show. They play a critical role in the country's coastal defense. Here's how. Defensive fire is divided into 3 sections. The first wave uses artillery pieces to destroy enemy ships. The second wave then concentrates on smaller landing craft, trying to make their way to the shore. The final and third wave then focuses fire on ships that are just about to land.
它就是在模拟，是说当中共的这个登陆舟波，可能是登陆艇或者是2栖战车，离开登陆舰，开始朝台湾的陆地前进的时候，我们要在不同的距离设下不同的杀伤地带。
Artillery is one of the foundations of Taiwan's army. These guns would be deployed along the coastline to defend against an enemy invasion. China has recently upped its threat to take Taiwan by force, increasing its military presence in the Taiwan Strait. Chinese Navy ships are spotted nearby on almost a daily basis, and its military aircraft often fly around Taiwan. During Monday's drill, a Chinese fighter jet was flying nearby and sent the military this message. The drills were originally scheduled to last 2 days, but an oncoming typhoon shortened them to 1 day. But Taiwan's military is making the best use of its training, using real ammunition to practice defending against an equally real threat. Isan Pan and Hamiokan for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's foreign ministry says it is hopeful of being allowed to take part in the United Nations. It comes as the country makes its case to be allowed in ahead of the General Assembly. As Rik Glauert reports, being shut out of the UN is a recurring problem because of pressure from China.
This video shared online by Taiwan's government demonstrates how the country is meeting some of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Released ahead of the General Assembly, it's meant to show the contributions Taiwan could make to the UN if it weren't excluded. Taiwan has no seat in the global organization because China, which claims sovereignty over the island nation, exerts its influence to keep Taiwan out.
It's kind of aggressive, not reasonable actions. If we don't do anything about it, it's like you agree that bullier to keep on bullying people. So this is particularly important for Taiwan to be in the United Nations system.
The Chinese Civil War saw the country's leadership split in 1949, with the communists ruling from Beijing while the nationalists fled to Taiwan. Both claimed to be the rightful representatives of China. In the 70s, the United Nations voted to give the representative seat to Beijing, among other things because it ruled over the majority of the population. Getting a seat at the United Nations hits the core of Taiwan's immense geopolitical challenge. It's denied recognition as a nation state and a voice on the world stage, at a time when it needs its allies to speak up for it more than ever. For many in Taiwan, it's all part of China's many grey zone warfare tactics, military drills, cyber attacks, and cognitive warfare used to intimidate Taiwan.
I think being frozen out makes them question, well, do we exist or not? And I think that's part of the psychological attack that China has on Taiwan, keeping Taiwan isolated, trying to make Taiwanese people feel like they have no choice but to join them.
Taiwan's government says the world is waking up to the threats China poses to global stability, and that international support for its inclusion in the UN is increasing. For now, it's Taiwanese citizens denied the normality of a recognised country who are paying the price. Alex Chen and Rik Glauert in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Prosecutors have charged members of a suspected scam ring who allegedly defrauded thousands of people in a Ponzi scheme. The group is accused of setting up a platform called IMB that matched lenders with borrowers and promised lenders up to 12% interest. But most borrowers were supposedly fake accounts. When the scheme collapsed, 5,000 people lost a combined $81 million. Suspects are charged with violating Taiwan's banking and money laundering laws. A nationwide beach cleanup held by a local NGO has just come to an end. Over the past 2 months, the volunteers collected more than 8 tons of garbage across Taiwan. Eugene Huang has more.
Prayers to the sea deities. 水仙尊王 are believed to protect fishers, making them the ideal gods to pray to for some divine blessings for going to work by the sea. In this case, for beach cleanup, the final one in a series hosted by local NGO Rethink. Since starting in mid-July, the organization has led more than 2,700 volunteers to pick up beach litter in several locations across Taiwan, collecting more than 8 tons of garbage. It seems a lot, but that's only a small fraction of the estimated 955 metric tons of marine waste on Taiwan's beaches. But it's a start. Collaborating with local temples like this helps recruit more volunteers. Likewise, making the cleanup an island-wide event helps gain attention. Some participants join as many slots as they can, like this man, who only missed out on one location.
有徒步环岛，有重机环岛，也有骑摩托车环岛。我认为环岛净滩应该是比骑重机还要有意义，所以我觉得 我就会尽力的来做这些净滩的活动，这样子。
Rethink's project manager said in recent years, they've seen a growing awareness of the problem of marine trash on Taiwan's beaches. But most notably, big businesses are starting to ask how they can help.
企业其实有蛮明显的感受，就是大家就是会开始更多找我们来协助举办，然后也举办让更多民众可以来参与的这样的活动。
The last beach cleanup being tackled by Rethink is at an estuary where a bunch of different garbage has piled up. The beach here is often covered in waste from the sea and household garbage that floated down the Gaoping River.
Taiwan's west coast is dirtier than the east because it's where most of the country's population and industry is located. Garbage collected from eastern Taiwan's coastline only accounts for 5% of the country's total. The highest amount comes from the southwestern cities, where the fishing industry is largest, accounting for 26%. Meanwhile, Kaohsiung and Pingtung together make up 11%. Research shows that the largest source of Taiwan's marine litter, 70%, is from the fishing industry. Although there's no way for volunteers to deal with bigger debris, every little bit they collect adds up.
我们投入去净滩，其实就是实质上在减少海洋垃圾，因为当我们去这个岸上把这些海洋垃圾捡起来，其实就减少了这些垃圾再度跑到海里面的机会。
But any major changes still rely on government policies. Big items such as driftwood can't be moved by volunteers alone. And volunteer beach cleanups are only held on easily accessible beaches.
那因为我们发现说海废的分布它其实是很不平均的，就是可能有超过一半或是60%的海废是堆积在只有10%的海滩上。换句话说，其实只要清理这个10%的最脏的这个污染热点，其实我们台湾整个垃圾量就可以减少一半甚至60%以上。
Research indicates that marine waste on Taiwan's beaches has been reduced by almost 33% over the past year, thanks to government efforts to tackle the issue. But a long-term solution will need everyone to play their part, no matter how small that might be. Kamashi and Yu Huang for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, transgender students at Taiwan universities prepare for the new academic year.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app and follow us on social media.
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. Taipei Mayor Chiang Wan-an is in Shanghai for the annual Twin City Forum, an event that brings the leadership of the two cities together. It's the first time the event has happened in person since the COVID-19 pandemic. It's also Chiang's first time attending the forum since becoming mayor last year. Before setting off, Chiang said dialogue between the two cities will continue whether cross-strait ties are good or bad. For more on Chiang's visit, our reporter Stash Butler spoke to the editor of New Bloom magazine, Brian Hugh.
In terms of sensitive dialogue, there's been rumours that Chiang Wan-an, Taipei Mayor, when he's in Shanghai, will meet with China's head of Taiwan affairs, Song Tao. I mean, what would that mean in terms of the context of Taiwan-China ties?
There would be pushback for the pan-Green camp for sure, because the framing then is that Taiwan is part of China, and so almost like you're meeting with your boss. And if actually Chiang goes to China and doesn't meet anyone important, the pan-Green camp will try to attack him with the claim that, well, he was denigrated, he was looked down upon, they didn't treat him well and did not roll out the full honors and he did not meet with anyone of equal parity.
Chiang Wan-an is the great-grandson of Chiang Kai-shek, the leader of the ROC, who fought a war with the Chinese Communist Party over China, lost, and fled to Taiwan. Now, his great-grandson, Chiang Wan-an, is going back to China. How much of a focus has there been in in Taiwan and in China on this kind of, historical quirk.
There's some symbolic resonance here. When Ma Ying-jeou, for example, the former president, traveled to China earlier this year, he played up these family ties. He went to his home province of Hunan. He spoke at his family graves in Hunanese, actually. And so this was actually quite symbolic. And there's a lot of focus on this as a kind of emotionally resonant moment. It's to be seen if Chiang plays that up. He has not leaned into his family history as much, though, perhaps with the view that this actually leaves him open to some criticism of embracing the past history of authoritarianism. And so I think he will actually tread careful ground where that is concerned.
Are city-to-city meetings like this a way of fixing Taiwan-China ties?
It's to be seen. There is the view that any kind of exchange is better than nothing, as the Pamdu camp often will say. And it will have a discursive role, and it could impact some elements of the city-based relations between Taipei and Shanghai, particularly if there is, for example, economic incentives that come out of this for Taipei. This could be used as a way for the KMT to strengthen its narrative that economic engagement with China is good. It not only benefits Taiwan economically, but it's a way of dialing back tensions. That's to be seen, but I think in terms of the national policy, it will not have that much effect.
That was New Bloom editor Brian Hughes speaking to Stash Butler. It's the start of a new year at university for many students in Taiwan, but some students face different challenges to others. Rik Glauert has this report on how transgender students in Taiwan are preparing for life on campus.
A marginalised community sharing survival tips. These transgender students in Taiwan are about to start a new semester at university. They're attending a seminar on how to navigate the challenges of campus life as a sexual minority. Many did not want to show their faces on camera, but anthropology major Gous wanted to step up and share her experiences.
所以其实多少会小小不安，跟就是很害怕说是不是又代言到跨性别，就是这个解释可能不会被跨性别主体满意。但是其实我觉得今天聊到一半，我觉得其实整体的氛围是很友善的这样子。
Taiwan is one of the most LGBTQ-friendly places in Asia, and the only country where same-sex marriage is legal. But the trans community is often left behind. For nearly 20 years, Taiwan has taught gender and sexuality diversity in the country's schools. It's made Taiwan largely accepting of its LGBTQ population. But among them, transgender Taiwanese still face widespread stigma and discrimination. Half of transgender university students report unfriendly treatment on campus. Harassment because of gender or sexual identity is punishable under Taiwan law, but some traditional attitudes to gender and sexuality persist.
因为我刚刚提到性别平等教育法其实有相关规定，那教育部这边也有相关的做法，但是土法不足以自行嘛，还是需要有一些相关的推动的措施，去让这一些法能够深植人心啊。
The fact that Taiwan also requires people to undergo gender realignment surgery in order to change their gender on their official documents is a major hurdle for many trans Taiwanese. It means students that have not had such surgery face awkward questions when organising documents, using toilets and living in student dormitories.
非常多跨性别学生为了要住进符合自己性别认同的宿舍，他们其实必须跟非常多的处室不断的出柜，然后不断的说明自己的状况。那这样子的过程，其实对他们来说是非常非常痛苦的。
Organisers say sessions like this are important to assure the trans community of the rights they have and how to assert them on campus. But it's also a crucial chance to build solidarity for a group that is often forced to the fringes. Paul Huang and Rik Glauert for TaiwanPlus.
And long before Taiwan was known for semiconductors, it was the go-to place for Chinese antiques. But its antique jade market is now suffering without Chinese buyers. Louise Watt reports.
This is Taiwan's biggest jade wholesale market in the capital, Taipei. Though it looks busy, sellers say there's been a big drop in purchases post-pandemic. With a weaker global economy, customers are more cautious. And Taipei's poor relations with Beijing means border restrictions are still in place for Chinese visitors, keeping out the industry's biggest buyers.
台湾的景气就很差很差，几乎同行都用4个字在形容。现在你要买东西难买，要卖东西难卖，所以只有难买难卖4个字。
Taiwan has long attracted collectors of Chinese relics, many of which were taken out of China in the 1960s and 70s during a period of political and social chaos.
文革前后，那些很好的一些古董，他们流失出来的时候，就流到香港跟台湾。那个时候，台湾的一些收藏家非常意识到这个是国之重器啊，大家就纷纷的投入收藏的行列。
But the golden age of antiques trading appears to be fading here. In the past decade, Taiwan's market has fallen from around $16 million a year to $9 million.
11、12年前到10年前到7、8年前，那时候台湾的生意可以，如果说做玉的或是古董的，大家都非常好。慢慢可能就是牵涉到政治因素或是什么，就是两岸他们进来会比较困难一点。
Taiwan's government is already under pressure from the tourist industry to break the impasse. From September the 1st, it will allow Chinese nationals who live outside of mainland China to visit Taiwan. But China is still not allowing its own tourists to travel to the island nation. Antiques traders are hoping it won't be long before Chinese visitors can return to help get their trade back on track. Devin Tsai and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. Finally today, we leave you with images of the World Tango Championship in Argentina. I'm Rik Glauert. Take care and see you soon.